Krásný dobrý den. Hello and welcome to another video. Today I would like to show you how we can translate the verb cut into Czech. I don't want to overwhelm you, so we will focus our attention on three main verbs and their variations. Perfective, imperfective. So how do you say cut in Czech? Well, that depends on with what you cut. The Czech language has more variations to express one word, generally, and cut is one of those perfect examples where you need more context. Do you cut with scissors? Do you cut with a knife? Or do you cut with a saw? That all depends. Let's take a look. Jdeme na to. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. Here you see a lot of verbs, but I previously mentioned that we will focus on three verbs, so let me explain. These are the three main verbs that we will focus our attention on, and I will also mention these ones. And this is more of a bonus verb that is not that common, but it's also important to know. Let's do this brief introduction, and then we will look at each verb in more detail. These first three verbs are related to cutting with scissors, nůžky. Stříhat, ostříhat, ustřihnout. What is the difference? So all these three are related to cutting with scissors. Nůžky. Stříhat is an imperfective verb. If you say stříhám, it means I am cutting with scissors right now or generally. Ostříhat is perfective. Ostříhat vlasy. To cut and finish cutting. It's perfective, it's focused on result. Ustřihnout, you see there is a different prefix and also a different ending. Ustřihnout is also perfective. That's usually when we talk about one piece, that we cut off one piece. Ostříhat is perfect for cutting nails or hair. You know, this prefix o means cut around. So you cut something around generally. Ustřihnout, u means to cut something off in this case. You take a strand of hair and you cut it off. Ustřihnout. Krájet. Krájet is cutting and slicing with a knife. Nůž. Krájet nožem. Nakrájet and ukrojit are also related to cutting with a knife. Nakrájet is perfective and it would be cutting something completely, slicing. For example, you have a loaf of bread, nakrájíme chleba. You cut it all into slices or pieces. Ukrojit, just like ustřihnout, means to cut a piece. Also perfective. And finally, řezat. Řezat generally means cutting with a saw or something that has teeth. You can have a manual saw, a little chainsaw like this one. Řezat is imperfective. This is supposed to be a saw, not teeth. Řezat, imperfective. Nařezat would be to cut several things. For example, cutting wood. You have firewood and then you cut it into several parts. For using it for fire, for burning, that's perfective. Uříznout would be about a single part. To cut something off with a saw. Also perfective. And now this verb, zkracovat, that's imperfective as well. It means to cut in certain context, but it's rather to shorten. To be shortening, zkracovat. Krátit is imperfective. Zkrátit is perfective. We will take a look at these briefly as well. But for now, remember these differences. Stříhat, krájet, řezat. Now it's time to look at our first item. Our first tool is nůžky. Nůžky používáme na stříhání. We use scissors for cutting. Stříhání, stříhat, to cut with scissors, such as cutting hair, cutting nails, cutting fabric or paper. Ostříhat means to cut completely, do a haircut or cut your nails. Ustřihnout means to cut something off, cut a piece with scissors. I wrote 3 examples in English and we are going to see how to translate them in Czech. If you see these without more context, some of them might not be very clear, like this one. Let's see. Am I cutting it crooked? You need to know what is it that you're using for cutting. You need the context. In this case, we know we're using scissors and we need the present tense, so stříhat is the only imperfective one here. Imperfective verb is stříhat and these two are perfective. Am I cutting it crooked? Nestříhám to křivě. Nestříhám to křivě. I chose nestříhám because it's a little bit more careful. Like, am I cutting it crooked by any chance? But of course, you could say stříhám to křivě. If you ask nestříhám to křivě, you're hoping that it's not the case that you're cutting it crooked. Pavla cut her hair. Well, here we know that it's with scissors, although she could use a saw. No, Pavla cut her hair. Pavla si ostříhala vlasy. Pavla si ostříhala vlasy. We add si because she cut her own hair. Pavla si ostříhala vlasy. Cut it in half here. We know we're using scissors, otherwise we could use other verbs for cutting with the knife or with a saw. Ustřihni to tady v půlce. Ustřihni to tady v půlce. Ustřihni. From ustřihnout. So remember, if we use scissors, nůžky, then the verbs are stříhat, ostříhat, ustřihnout. Well, there are others with more prefixes, but the core will be something like this, střih or střih. We can have more variations with different prefixes, but that's not what I want to do here today. Okay, now we're cutting with a knife. Nůž. Krájíme nožem. Krájet is the imperfective verb. Nakrájet and ukrojit are perfective. I'm cutting up the onions. Or chopping, we could also say krájím cibuli. Krájím cibuli. This is actually, I'm cutting up the onion. Krájím cibuli. Cut the bread into thin slices. Nakrájej chleba na tenké plátky. Nakrájej. Nakrájej chleba na tenké plátky. He cut himself a big piece of cake, meaning the big piece of cake was for him. Here we're talking about one single piece that he cut off. Ukrojil si velký kus dortu. Ukrojil si velký kus dortu. Krájet, nakrájet, ukrojit. And now we are cutting with a saw. Řezat. This is the imperfective verb. This is the perfective. Nařezat. And uříznout is perfective as well. To je pila. Malá řetězová pila. Řezat pilou. Řezat means that we cut through material. It's often with force. That's why the r is there, because it's so strong. R. You hear it? R. Řezat. He cut all the wood with a handsaw. I want to use this verb because I wanted to be focused on the process that he was cutting. Všechno dřevo řezal ruční pilou. Všechno dřevo řezal ruční pilou. We could also say všechno dřevo nařezal ruční pilou if we said that that's the result. But we don't really know it from this sentence. Look how much we've cut. For example, we're pointing at pieces of wood. For example, there was a long tree and then we cut it into pieces with a saw. Or there were pieces of wood that were supposed to be cut into smaller ones for firewood. Podívej, kolik jsme toho nařezali. Podívej, kolik jsme toho nařezali. We'll have to cut off this branch. Well, here it's clear. It's a branch of a tree. We would not really use scissors. Tuhle větev budeme muset uříznout. Uříznout. Tuhle větev budeme muset uříznout. So, řezat here, if it's he was cutting all the wood, or we could also say nařezat here. Nařezat a uříznout. Uříznout. Now, here is one important thing. When we cook and we cut with a knife, we often cut ourselves with a knife. So if you cut yourself accidentally, it's funny that in that case we don't use the word krájet, because krájet is more like slicing. But when it's a deep cut or you know, you make a cut, even though it's with a knife, it would be říznout, říznout se. So this is a slightly different variation. Říznout se do něčeho. Říznout se do prstu. To cut one's finger. To make a cut. Not uříznout. If it was uříznout prst, it would be to cut off completely. So if you want to say, don't cut yourself, neřízni se. Neřízni se, pozor. Pozor, ten nůž je velký a ostrý, neřízni se. Don't cut yourself. And just so you have the full picture, I also want to briefly mention the word zkracovat, krátit and zkrátit, which means cut as well, but it's rather shorten. Because krátký means short, zkracovat, to be shortening, that's the imperfective verb. And krátit is imperfective as well, and zkrátit is perfective. So for example, you want to say, she cut the dress because it was too long. She shortened the dress. Zkrátila si šaty, protože byly moc dlouhé. She shortened her dress. Zkrátila si šaty, protože byly moc dlouhé. We could also say ustřihla. Ustřihla si šaty. She cut a part of that dress with scissors. We need to cut or shorten this part of the video. That's what I do all the time. There are some parts that are just a little too long, so I have to shorten it. And I can also use this verb, zkrátit. Tuhle část videa musíme zkrátit. Musíme zkrátit. When editing a video, we often use the verb stříhat or vystřihnout, to cut a part out, vystřihnout. Now it's time for an exercise. Here are 6 sentences and your task will be to choose the correct option. You won't have to decide between the imperfective or perfective. Simply decide whether it is cutting with scissors, with a knife, or with a saw of a sort. And because for some sentences you would need more context, also follow the symbols that are next to each sentence. Pause the video. Are you ready? Jdeme na to. Číslo 1. She cut her bangs. Ustřihla si ofinu. Ustřihla si ofinu. We could say zkrátila si ofinu, which would be really she shortened her bangs. If you say uřízla si ofinu, it would be like this. Číslo 2. Au, teď jsem se řízl do prstu. Remember what I told you? Řízl do prstu means to cut with a knife, but accidentally. In some other contexts, you could say, teď jsem se střihl do prstu, which happens. It has happened to me and it really hurts. Teď jsem se řízl do prstu, that's with a knife. Číslo 3. Vlasy mi vždycky stříhá moje manželka. Stříhá, because it's with scissors, probably. Číslo 4. Nakrájíš, prosím, zeleninu? We're assuming it's with a knife. Nakrájíš. Číslo 5. Tahle nová pila řeže dobře. Tahle nová pila řeže dobře. A číslo 6. Mám ti ještě ukrojit koláč. Ukrojit. Cut. Another piece. Well done! I hope that now this topic is much clearer for you. Remember these 3 key differences: krájet, stříhat, řezat. Thanks so much for watching. I also want to thank you for supporting my channel through YouTube membership. Moc děkuju. Tak se mějte krásně a na viděnou za týden. Ahoj!